And I'm just going to chuck another material here on the screen just so we can see it. Alright, so let's take care of the button there, this piece here. And again, this isn't actually cut into the surface, this kind of outer piece is just plastic that's stuck on there, and then we have the button in the center. Okay, so let's create this, it'll be pretty quick. Let's just grab the front panel, hit Control I again, and hide everything but the front panel and the blueprints. And let's go to our front view, turn our shading, and toggle our transparency. Okay, so let's just zoom in here, and we'll go back to the create panel and grab a sphere. Okay, let's draw that out over top, trying to match the size. Something like that's good. And let's just line it up here. Okay, let's move this forward in front. Okay, so what we can do here is just squash this down a bit. Alright, so let's go to scale and we'll scale it in on the X. Quite a bit here. And again, you can look down at the bottom there to see how much I'm scaling it. Let's take it down to maybe something like that. Okay, so we want it pretty flat. Alright, I think that's pretty good. And we also don't need the back polygons here, so let's just convert it to a poly. And before I do that, I have it set to 32 sides here. Okay, and about 83 or so on the radius. So I'll convert that to editable poly. Let's grab the back polygons here and delete them. And we'll just push this in a little bit so it's sitting on the surface like so. And to get that button in the center here, we'll just actually create this out of the same geometry here. So let's go over to edge, and we want to do a loop on this edge here. Okay, I think that's about the right size. Alright, so let's loop that and we'll chamfer it. And let's just take this down a little bit here. And we'll also check on open. Okay, that's going to cut or delete those polygons in between the edges. Okay, I want this to be pretty tight together. Maybe around 0.7. And okay, and then we can go over to vertex. Let's grab this vertex here. Control click polygon, and let's grow this up, okay, to there, and detach it. Okay, we'll just call this button, and okay. And we'll just change the color here. Let's actually do green so we can see it. Okay, so now what we can do is just extrude in this front border to get some thickness on there. And let me just hide this center piece for a second so we can see it. Okay, so let's go to border, select the inner border, and shift drag that in. Okay, we'll bring it in just a little bit here for support edge, and then we'll hold down shift and bring it in the rest of the way. Okay, just to about the surface where it touched up there. Okay, I'm also going to do that on the outside. Let's grab the border there and just slightly shift drag it back like this. Okay, that should give us a pretty smooth result, so let's just try it with Turbo Smooth, 2 iterations, and Iceline. Okay, that looks pretty good, so let's unhide all one more time. Grab the center, and we'll do the same thing here. Let's grab this outer border, go into wireframe with F3, and just shift drag that in a bit. Okay, so we'll bring it in again just a little bit here, and one more time, like that. Okay, now we're going to need to add one edge around here just to hold this, the sharpness of this edge here on the front. Okay, so let's ring this edge here and connect it up. Slide that up, and we'll go pretty tight on this one, like that. Okay, and let's smooth this guy out and see how it looks. Okay, that looks pretty good, and I'm just wondering if we should add an extra edge here. Let's select the outer piece there. And we'll just add another edge to this section here just to sharpen it up a bit more. Okay, so bring those edges and connect them. Bring this down about there, and we'll see if that looks a little bit sharper. Okay, and I also want to maybe set this center here just out a little bit farther to get a little bit more of a shadow on the sides here. Alright, so with the middle select, I'm just going to bring it out slightly here. Just a bit like that. Okay, and let's also just change the color here to black, and we'll just apply maybe the orange shader. Okay, I want to see if that's lined up correctly. Okay, you can see it's pretty much centered on this piece, so we need to move it a little bit over to the left here. It looks a little off. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. That looks pretty good right there. Okay. Alright, I just had a little bit of a crash there, so I just got to restart here. Okay, so let's get on to doing the button here. Let's just take a look at the reference of that. Alright, and as you can see, we have a couple of pieces that make this up. We have the actual switch here, and then we have kind of this chrome border that kind of tapers and bevels into the inside here. Alright, and we also have that split in the panels that I mentioned earlier, but we can cut that in a little bit. Let's take care of this outer piece first, and then we'll model out the actual button there. Okay, the shape's a little bit weird, but we should be able to create it pretty easy. Let's just zoom in on the hole here, and we'll just hide everything else here. Let's grab maybe, let's maybe use a cylinder for this. We could use splines, we could maybe even use an oil tank, but a cylinder might work for us. So I'm just going to draw one out in the center of the hole here, roughly the same size. Give it a little bit of height for now. Let's also give it an extra cap segment here, and we'll take off the height segments. We don't need those. Let's just move it forward here in the side view as well. Okay, so let's push that out the front here. Okay, and let's just adjust the edges here a little bit. Let's take it up to 20 so that we have a vertical edge and a horizontal edge here in the center, which is what we want. Okay, and let's just maybe convert this to a poly, and let's go into the side view one more time and delete off the back and side polygons here, so we only have the front. Okay, and what we're going to do here is just kind of try to fill this hole. Let's maybe grab this center edge here on the top and bottom and loop it, and we'll just chamfer this for a second so we can kind of break that apart. Okay, like so. And I'm just going to move all the right side verts over to stretch this out like that, and we'll do the same thing here. Let's move these ones over to the left. Okay, we're just going to roughly line it up with the hole. We can adjust the shape later on. Okay, and let's maybe go into polygon here, and we're just going to delete out these center polygons so we have this outer strip border, okay, which is pretty much what we have here. Similar shape. And just let me change the color so it's a little easier to see the edges. Let's put the blue back on there. Okay, so let's see if we can kind of fit this in here. And I'm just wondering if the border is thick enough. Let's grab the border there in the center. Okay, and it looks a little bit more narrow, especially at the top and bottom, so I'm just going to kind of stretch this up a little bit. And we'll make it a little bit more narrow this way by just scaling this in a little bit. Okay, now with that border selected, we can actually just push it back here in perspective to kind of taper that in and get the shape that we need. Alright, so I'm going to bring it back quite far. Something like that. And with the border selected, we'll just shift drag it in, alright, to extrude that inner edge like this. And we'll extrude the outer border as well. Okay, so I'm just going to extrude that in. And we'll just line it up for now here in the side view. Okay, and I definitely don't really like having this angled edge here that just goes straight back, so let's maybe add one more loop right here around these edges. Okay, I'm going to slide it up quite close to the outside, like that. And let's go into the side view. We're just going to pull this forward to flatten out that front a little bit more. Okay, so just line those edges up like that. Okay, so we have a little bit more of a flat front, and that should help it smooth. Okay, so I think that's pretty good for the shape. Let's add some support here, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so let's do a ring on the inside with a connect, and we'll do that in the same place. Let's do one here with a ring and a connect, and this time we're going to do two. Okay, so two, and we'll just pinch those out. You want this to be quite sharp, like that. And one more on the outside here. Select that a little bit closer. Okay, let's add one edge maybe right here on this part that we pulled forward. Okay, so bring those edges and connect it up. And we'll just do maybe one in the center. That should be enough. Okay, we can also push this back in a bit. We just want it sticking out slightly. Okay, and we'll smooth it out as well here, see how it looks. Okay, so just leave it out a little bit so you have a little bit of edge there. Okay, I think that looks actually pretty good. We might not need to do any other work to it. Next thing we'll do is just start working on the actual button here, and it's a little bit weird of a weird shape, so we're gonna have to take a couple minutes to get that figured out. Okay, so just had max freeze on me, so I had to restart. Let's get started on the button down here. All right, we'll take another look at the reference here. And as you can see, we have kind of a rounded over front piece here that kind of comes out, and this part's flat. So I think the best thing to do to start this will be probably with the sphere. So let's do that. Let's go into the front view here. And let's go back to the gray panel, grab another sphere, and we'll draw this out in the center of the hole here. And I'm just going to eyeball the size, move it down a bit, something like that. We'll push it over to the side here. And we'll also move it forward here in the left view. Okay, we can actually just control click this piece and hide everything else. Alright, so let's move it through to about here. Okay. And I'm going to leave it oriented this way so we have these faces in the front. Normally you wouldn't want to do that because they might give you a little bit of an artifact when you smooth, but I think it'll be a lot easier for us to get the rest of the button in here if we leave the cylinder or the sphere this way. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is convert it to a pulley, and let's just check the size here. Let's do about maybe 19 on the radius, and we'll leave it maybe at 24 segments. Okay, so let's convert it to a pulley now. And the first thing we'll do is delete the back polygons, which we don't need. Okay, and if we look at the reference again, you can see this is not round at all. It's kind of squashed down. This side's round, but this side's kind of a lot more tapered in. So let's do that right now. Let's go to vertex, and we'll select all the verts on the left side of center here. Okay, and we're going to go up and we're going to put an FFD on here, a 2x2. Okay, we'll drop this down to control points and select the two left control points here. Okay, and then we're just going to use this to kind of modify the shape here a little bit more to what we were looking for. Okay, and we don't want to go too crazy because it might give us a little bit of a pinching effect here on the front, so we'll just take it in like that. Maybe a little less. Okay, and we'll collapse that back to edit pulley to get rid of the FFD. Oops, edit pulley, not edit mesh. Okay. Alright, and let's go to border here, and we're going to select the back border, and I'm just going to shift drag this just slightly back a little bit more here to get another edge. Okay, and then we'll go into the front view here, and we're going to hold down Alt and deselect the edges on the back there for the right side of center. Okay, whoops, let's actually undo that for a second. Control click edge first and then deselect those holding Alt. Okay, so we just have this loop here from the center mark all the way around to the center mark on the bottom. Okay, and once again we're going to shift drag this out in perspective here on the X just a little bit to get an edge, and then we'll take it the rest of the way holding shift. Okay, all the way over to the end there, and don't worry if the size or the angle doesn't match. We'll fix that in a minute. Okay, so let's go into wireframe here. Go back over and control click vertex with these verts selected here, and we're just going to scale this on the X just to shape it out a little bit better to what we need. Okay, and we'll move this in a little more. Okay, and you can see the height is a little too high right now, so let's just give this a slight scale on the Y as well, like that. Okay, so we want a somewhat even border here. Over here it's going to be a little off. We might need to adjust the shape here a little bit afterwards. Okay, we also don't want the front to be, you know, so sticking out here, so we'll go back into left view, back to vertex. Let's grab all these verts here. We're going to leave the back ones, deselect it. Okay, so just everything in front of this edge. And we're going to put on another FFD here, a 2x2 again. Drop it down to control points, select the left control points. And we're just going to squash this a little more to take it in a bit. Okay, and something like that might be okay. Let's bring it out just slightly. We'll collapse to editable pulley, and then we'll reselect the verts there and just bring the whole thing in a little bit to even out those polygon sizes. Okay. Next thing we'll do here is hit F3 to go to wireframe, and we'll select the back border. And again, we're just going to shift drag this back just a little bit here to get a support edge. And then we'll shift drag it one more time. We're going to go quite far on this. Okay, the reason why we're making it so thick is because we're going to need to angle the button a little bit, and we don't want to see the edge here when it sticks out. Okay, so take that back like that. It really doesn't matter. And we'll turn our border there. And let's see. Let's add maybe a couple of additional segments through here. We also want to try to support the shape a bit. Let's add one loop through these edges here. Okay, so back to edge, grab these, connect it up, and we'll slide this down to the end. Maybe something like that. Okay, it's going to be a little weird here because this stretched out polygon, so we'll just take it over about there, go back to the front view, and let's go up here, and we're just going to adjust some of these verts a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one. Let's also maybe cut this in half so we only have to do one half of it. Let's grab all these verts on the bottom and delete them. And we're just going to angle these a little bit down. Okay, and up here on the top, that's maybe going to give us a problem. I'm not too sure yet. I really don't want to continue this loop around the front. Because it'll come down this ring here, we don't want to have a hard spot, so let's maybe just see how that looks before we worry about trying to clean up the edges anymore. Okay, so we'll go back into the front view here. Now let's do a symmetry on the Y. Okay, and again, make sure that touches up in the center before you collapse it. Okay, and we'll also add a couple of additional edges right here just to help it smooth out. Alright, so another ring there. And we'll do 3 segments, maybe with no pinch, no slide. And let's go into isolate mode, Volt Q, add a turbo smooth, 2 iterations, and isoline, and we'll see if that looks okay. Okay, and you can see that the edge is slightly harder right here than it is up on top, but that's minor. I don't think we really need to worry about that. And we don't really need to continue that loop over to support the front. It looks pretty good right now. Okay, and we have a very, very slight artifact here on the center from those polygons, or those triangle faces there that we angled in, but that's really not noticeable at all, so I'm going to leave it like this. Okay, so let's center the pivot here, and we'll exit isolation mode. And let's bring up the button a little bit more. Okay, you can see it's sticking out a bit, but it's on an angle, so let's angle it first. Alright, so we'll bring it out here a bit. And let's go back into the arc tab, effect pivot only, and move the pivot point to the back edge. Okay, and we'll turn that off so that's the rotation point now. And we'll just give this maybe a 5-degree or 10-degree twist here. Let's do 10. Push it over a little bit. And we'll see how that looks. Okay, I want to bring it out a little more than that. We don't want that pushed in so far. Let's maybe do 5 degrees. I'm just going to take that back 5 degrees. Okay. And we want to make sure that this is centered, so I'm just going to move it back in the front view. And I think we look pretty good there. I'm going to move it back just a little bit here so we can notice the angle a little more. Okay, so let's grab both these pieces here. Just going to make sure the color's black. And we'll throw on the blue sugar on both pieces. Okay, so let's unhide all. And we'll see if this is looking okay. Alright, nothing's sticking out of place there, which is good. And I think that should work fine for the button. Okay, so let's maybe just change the color of these objects finally. I know that orange is a little hard in the eyes, so I'm just going to select everything here and apply just a standard gray shader to it. Okay, and we're looking pretty good here. We have most of the detail done on the front and sides, pretty much everything besides the back tank there. And I think we're roughly about an hour and a half into this part, so I think we'll wrap this section up here, and in the next section we'll start cracking on that tank base as well as the back detail that we need. I know there's been a bit of delay between the parts getting up on CD Tuts, and I'll try to get the next parts up as quick as I can, so there's not a long break between each section. Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up here, and if you have any questions or any problems or anything, just throw up a comment on CD Tuts and I'll do my best to answer it as soon as I can. But yeah, I guess that's it for this section, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.